Okay. Thanks to all of you who've joined us for this panel discussion about an amazing man who helped thousands of Cambodians who migrated to America to start donut businesses around the US. I want to thank Alice Gu, the writer and director. She's a child of Chinese immigrants who saw the deeper story of the Cambodian people fleeing a terrible war in their country. I'm Diane Tilstra with Meaningful Movies Tacoma and a proud member of the KBTC Association Board, and I am your host tonight. Tonight is a collaboration between KBTC, the Asia Pacific Cultural Center, and Tacoma Refugee Choir in celebration of World Refugee Day on June 20th. So we have a wonderful panel tonight for you to speak about the film's story, and I'm going to introduce our panelists. First, we have Lua Pritchard. She's the director of Asia Pacific Cultural Center on South Tacoma Way, and she's a member of the KBTC Association Board. Hi, Lua.
Hello. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. And then I have Sinun Hem, who's the president of the Cambodian Women's Networking Association and Community Relations for the Cambodian Buddhist Center. Sinun, hi. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Hello, audience. Thank you for coming to watch our the documentary about the Donut King. Yes, it is about Cambodia, and I'm really appreciate this, that KTBC is putting this event together for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have Dareth Pak, Dareth Pak, who was born in Battambang, Cambodia. She arrived in the US in 1982 with her cousin and brother. She is a board member with Asia Pacific Cultural Center. She volunteers for Cambodian Assistance Foundation. She's been president and treasurer of the Cambodian Women's Networking, member of the Cambodian American Community Council of Washington, and a member of Women of Vision. She currently works for the Concerto Clinic. That's
yes,
a topic.
the family clinic.
Washington as a patient representative. So thank you very much, Dara, for being here today. So we're accepting questions on chat from our audience. So we're hoping that if you have a question for this wonderful group, that you'll just leave it in the chat and we'll address it. But to start the conversation, and I won't select anybody on the panel, you just decide if you'd like to answer this one. I'd like to know what your thoughts are about how the Cambodian people, how did they think about the United States in the 70s and 80s? And what did the American dream mean to them?
I'd like to chime in. In 1970, I was only about 5 years old. Didn't know much about what's happening. You know, went through the whole communist regime, didn't realize about what had happened, and it just couldn't believe it. And then lived through the communist and prison camp, and my father was one of the soldiers that actually worked for American, doing a lot of, I think, spying for America, part of close to Thailand area. And that's where our family had malaria and they sent us back. I almost died from malaria. Then my father was sent over there. So didn't understand at all what was happening and saw all this war. My father got hit by the grenade with the communists that was trying to take over the country. He was one of those Lanol soldier who fought in the war against the communists. And we were sponsored to America by the Baptist church. So didn't know any of that stuff until I got to America and went through high school and then went on to college, start wondering, why did so many Cambodians got killed by the million? Why no one saved us? I asked a lot of why question. after I have achieved, learn more education and just trying to find out more what's going on to Cambodian people and the country. And I've learned a lot, took a lot of time to research and study, read many books about Cambodia. David Chandler, Henry Kissinger also wrote a book. You know, there were like SciShow. I think Henry Kissinger wrote that big book. If anybody would have read it about Cambodia, and it was just too young to understand anything. American Dream didn't really got to me until I go to college, because I was still suffering when I came to America. Culture adjustment, culture difficulty, a lot of things, and poverty. Being a refugee in this country was so difficult. Large family, 11 people in my family. Sponsor was really hard to find a sponsor. We came in around 80, 81. Mount Sing Hill and erupted, and we were looking. We was almost coming to America, and when they said that's the town you're coming, and we were all freaking out. And so really worried and scared. Coming to America, don't know if they're gonna have any rice or pots and pan to cook. We're just so innocent, worry about everything.
Sure.
But we got to America. There were people who wait for us at the airport, you know, gave us a place to stay, give us some money, more family, but it still was hard. Didn't understand what the food in the can was for.
Yeah.
Is it for a dog or for a human? You know, can't read any sign. Some of them some of us eat some dog foods thinking it's a human food, you know.
Yeah.
And we went back to just talk to each other in the community and had a lot of laugh as well in our life. So I want to share that. Then, you know, went on to college. That was my dream, that if I work hard enough, I can achieve whatever I need to do. As a child, I also went through high school, worked at McDonald's, $3 an hour. I worked all the way until I go to college. So I was really like a person who's willing to work hard for my life. Yeah.
Thank you, Sanoon. Thank you very much. Doreth, did your parents, were they, well, I wanted to ask, your father got out then? Your father was able to get away from Cambodia?
No, actually not. My father, well, here's the story. My cousin that I mentioned, Chandaras Rai, he, the one that lived in the capital, Phnom Penh. So he went there to study and he got married there. And then during that communist going on, so he escaped from there, and then he come and get us from our village. So we live in a village, sub-Saharan countries, and my dad's still alive, my grandma's still alive, but my mom passed away when the Khmer Rouge come in 1975. So my cousins tried to get us out from there, and my dad and my grandma doesn't want to come. So, and then he just let me come out with my cousin, because even though my dad doesn't want me to come, but I still come. I will sneak out and come with my cousin, because why? He said that we have food, we have clothes, we have school. You know, I was young at that time, so that's how I get out from there with him. And my brother met my cousin. Before that, my brother met my cousin at the camp. So he told my brother not to come to the village, to stay there. And then he need to go to the camp instead of coming back home. So that's why I and my brother come with my cousin over to the United States. And, you know, and my dad was still in Cambodia at that time. Yeah. And so we arrived, well, we stayed in the camp for, I think, since 1979 until 1981. We left, we studied English in Philippines. we studied there for about 3 months. So I able to, speak a little bit like, how are you? What's your names? Just to communicate a little bit on that. And then we landed in Portland, Oregon during that time. And it was snowing and cloudy. And I was so scared at the same time and then English is a barrier at that time. Just like Wong Simon said, we have no idea what's going on. And it was so frightening at the same time, but at the same time, the old people said, oh, it's a third world. The third world is like heaven. You can live freely, you can do whatever you want and, have a good job, good life, build up your families and stuff. So we were so proud to be here in America. And so we lived in Oregon for 5 months, and then we come here to live here. And so I grow up here and, go to school, go to high school in here, able to graduate from high school while I live with my cousins and my brothers. He hardly lived with us because he had to go to school too. So he's, I think he went to Job Corps or something, as I remember. So my cousin is the one that raised me until I finished high school. And then after that, I went to college at TCC. I finished the degree in there as accounting. And then after that, I got married with my husband, Alex Pack, and I started to work at the Indo-Chinese Culture and Service Center as a bookkeeper at that time. And then try to help the Cambodian community and although not just the Cambodian community, but Southeast Asian community at that time. And then the Indo-Chinese is improving, and we get more grants during that time. And we got a grant for domestic violence, sexual assault, the shellfish that Louis involved at that time for, I think she's the director at the KWA at that time. So I able to work with her on that, and then try to get all the youth to work as a volunteer at the same time, try to get them out off the street because most of the kids in 1982 is like, at that time, a lot of gang members going on, and a lot of Cambodians gang members going on. And so we have another grant that able to deal with all the youth and the mentor and do all the after school stuff. So I, at that time, was a youth case manager. So I able to do all of that and help the kid get off the street and talk to the parent. And then most of the parents, it doesn't mean that they don't care about the kid. They do care about the kid, but they care about money at the same time because they want to survive. One thing, they want to pay up. They pay the rent, pay the food, and keep for their kid, clothes, and all those things. So I do know that sometimes they neglect of taking care of their kid, but at the same time they try to support their own family. But some kid doesn't know about it, and they think that the parents neglect them, but they are not. They try to support their kid to make them the money so the kid won't suffer like them. And then a lot of kids at that time, involved with gangs and not going to school, skip school. A lot of back bill, sent to the parent. The parent doesn't know what's going on. So I able to work with the Raymond Hall in Tacoma. It's called Youth at Risk. Yeah. Go to the court with the parent, provide translation, interpretation. Sometimes parent doesn't have the car, so I'm able to transport them, talk to them, advocate them, what's going on and how to educate them on working with their children in order to help the kid to support in school so that way they can graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else did I? So it's very. I'm glad that I able to work with Lua and the job that I work with at that time because I able to help the community at the same time. Even domestic violence, not a lot of people want to open for the community to help them because they try to put inside themselves and keep inside that, because back then in Cambodian, family members issue is family member issue. You cannot, go out there and help and ask people for help with that. And people would think that, oh, because you're a bad woman, you are unable to, support the family and all those things. So everything is bad for us women. That's why a lot of women don't want to open enough to share their story. And even one time I went to the court and I come back, a lot of people talk to me, oh, you help with this woman, da, da, da. And then, the husband got mad and all those things. So, but I told the woman, I said, no, I just do my job, whatever is right for them, because this is United States, she have the right to, to talk and, to be free, So even sexual assault is very, very tough. They not even open. It's more stricter than domestic violence. Even the husband rapes the wife, and they think that that's your husband. Why would you say that to your husband? So even though they abuse you, they hit you, the wife still stay in there to support the family, and even though that she suffer from it, and she doesn't want the community to look down on them until that they are really, able to get out from it at the same time.
Culturally, they're very private about things.
Yes,
happening
very
within
private.
the family.
Yes.
So that leads me to a question about the issues that are happening in the Asian community around racist acts, harassment. We've had some stories in the news of people being outwardly cruel and rude to people of Asian descent because they generally are not able to discern if someone is from Cambodia or from Thailand or from Laos or China, but they are being hateful. And according to some of the people that I know in the Asian community, that this isn't new. It's been happening to people over the years.
Yes.
So Tacoma wants to be a welcoming city. So I was going to ask you and Sinun and Lua if you have some suggestions for our audience about how we can make Tacoma a more welcoming and safe community for our Asian community, for the Cambodian families, Thai families, Vietnamese families. I have this in my window.
Yeah.
But
the most important thing, Diane, is for people to really get to learn who we are.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of programs at APCC, for example, to really teach about who we are as a nation, different nations, because even though we're AAPI together, we're all different as individual countries, and we have different ways of doing things, and we have different ways of respecting and honoring. But what we really truly are the same with is our families. We are family is very important. We're family oriented type of people, and then we are very hospitable. We're very hospitable people, and then our cultures also is very sharing. We share a lot. So there's never ever an individualism in our cultures. That's what we share together and are similar. We're very similar in our honor and our respect. We respect our elders. That's altogether AAPI people. We all respect upward. We respect our elders greatly, and we take good care of them because it is our utmost responsibility as children to take care of our parents and our grandparents. So we are similar in all of that. We are also similar in honor systems, within our family. So when we were here in America, for example, we practice those same ways. So if any of our people get out of line with those things, that we don't consider them knowing our culture or knowing their culture truly, and a lot of times we tend to think, oh, they must have grew up here in America, because that is typical American mainstream kind of way, not our way. Yeah, because we are very respectful. We bow a lot, we hug a lot, we kiss a lot. And then with the kissing and the hugging, we're all different in that way, how to show that. So, and that's why teachers sometimes they have troubles with our children, because they don't know typically in what way should they, for example, a typical AAPI person who grew up in the country, in our nations, they would come to America and when the teacher's speaking to them, they're bowing their head like this, because that is the respectful way. Yeah. But the teachers will label them disabled, not knowing, or something's wrong mentally ill or something, or quickly put that student into somewhere else. And so, and those are all kinds of ways that are so different, us being here. Yeah.
Microaggressions.
So it's so important for people to know who we are. Well, just like we had to learn who you are, as an American person. We had to learn. Yeah, we had to learn how to assimilate into America. Yeah.
The worst thing, when I lived in Thailand in Bangkok off and on for 10 years. And the worst insult for a teenager from their parent was, "You are acting like an American kid."
Yeah.
That was the worst insult.
Right.
Because American kids to the Thais were kids that were not respectful to their elders.
Right. And they talk back to their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I noticed that, I just wanted to share this, that Cambodia has a very rich history as a Khmer region in Asia. And I was fortunate to be able to travel to Phnom Penh and Angkor. I got to see Angkor Wat. And I was really impressed with how the Khmer region was the entire region that is now broken up into Thailand, Laos, Vietnam. That was all Khmer region. So it encourages me to ask this question. I know that Cambodia was colonized by the French until 1953, but have either you, Dareth, or Sanoon traveled back to Cambodia to visit?
Yes, I do. I do travel back in 2002 the first time, and I've been so many times right now. So since the COVID coming up, I did not have a chance to travel back yet, but I will in the future. But once I went there in the first time, I was so shocked, and because when I left there, I was about probably 5, 6 years old. So I don't remember much, but once Sanoon remember, she probably know more than me. And when I went there, it's like I was crying and scaring at the same time, seeing all those, homeless people and, all those handicapped people that crying and asking for money, asking for food. And I don't have much money to go in there at the same time, but I'm trying to give some as much as possible. And then I told myself, if I give it all, I won't have anything to come back. So, but seeing all those is like, I just want to support them, help them with that. And I don't see the government really help them much in there, because the country is really poor. So, and I don't know much about their government, their rules and all those things. And there's one time that they I think we drove on the road, and then luckily my other cousin, he's also a military, so he had gun. So I think because we are close like civilians, so they don't know him. So they stopped us, and then I was shocked inside the car, and then because I don't know what's going on, and he said, "Oh, don't say anything, don't say anything." So in my mind, he said, "What he trying to do here?" So, but they want money.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
why they stop us. They want money.
sure.
And if you don't give, they keep talking, and Boston can add this to it. They keep talking until we give. Even at the airport, they look at your passport. It's like they keep turning back and forth without asking you any question. And I was wondering why would they do that? And because I speak Cambodian, so and then I asked them, why it takes so long? Why you keep looking at my passport? Is there any question? So I can leave. So it take forever. I said, and then later on he said, "Oh, do you have some money?" So I said, "Oh, why don't you say why don't you say in there? Is the government giving you why you working here?" I said, "Yeah, but little,
Yeah.
not too much." So I able to give like $5 or $3, so that way we can get out fast. And even at checking point, at the airport, when you pull your luggage, they stuck. They kept you there too.
Yeah.
And they want money too until you give it to them, and they let you go.
Yeah.
So it is
I
very scary.
Yeah, I also want to share with. Are you done on the red?
Yeah, you can add some to it. We can, yeah.
I just want to join in when you asked about if we have been back to Cambodia. When I graduated with my bachelor degree, I decided that the first thing I would do is to wanting to get back to Cambodia. So in '95, the election, the Paris Peace Accord, was just finished in October 1992, 93. So I went back in '95. I didn't really know. It feel like it's been a while. When I landed in Cambodia, I wanted to learn what was happening about the country, about my people, and everybody was, in the city of Phnom Penh, people was pretty happy and excited. The country is still, supported by United Nations and UN Security Council, so people were still all right.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and tried to find out a little more about what the women are doing for living, for life. And I didn't really know that there were like a line of women sitting on the side. So my innocentness, I went in and said, "Hey, can I sit with you? I want to learn more about you."
Yeah.
And my male friend took me there. She was laughing at me, but I didn't know what was happening. They were sitting at a different table, and this line of women was all prostitutes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was sitting in the line of prostitute. But in '95, I was wearing a t-shirt, like really, because this was hot. I wear a jean and sit there and talk to the woman, how, why you're here, what you're doing here, are you going dancing, or, which is, I did not know about this culture part of my community, because I practically grew up during the communists and then came to America. I didn't know about the prostitution, all this stuff. So I didn't sit there for a long time.
Yeah.
And, and then later on came back out after, the night out. They asked me, did you know what that line was for?
Yeah.
And I said, no. Why? Something wrong? I was just asking about women. I'm a woman. I'm interested in women. I did some women study. So I wanted to learn about the Cambodian women. How can I help them? What the family life is like, what's happening, you know? A lot of men were killed too. So I learned a lot, but they keep laughing at me too. And I didn't really know about these things. But yeah, that was my first nightmare experience that I come in contact about my own country that I had to relearn all over again. And then also just landing in Cambodia was like feeling like I'm going back into the communist time again. I was freaking out at the beginning, just seeing my country like, oh my God, I'm back. It's like, and then when I came back to America, I have 2 months worth of nightmare. That whole can of worm just opened up and bring me back to the nightmare of what I went through. So that was something else that was like, I had to like close it. I had to shut it down.
It is an unfortunate part of the Asian culture all through that region.
Yeah.
The treatment of women, unfortunately. So I want to bring us back a little bit because in honor of your time and the time of our audience, we're going to try to wrap up around 8:15. And I want to be sure to come back to the fact that we have Cambodian businesses here in Tacoma, that hardworking families that are operating businesses. And the film talks about immigrants in the United States make up 13% of the US population, but 18% of those are Asian-run small businesses. So they find that Asian families tend to start businesses and become very prosperous soon after they arrive because they're willing to work so hard. Do you guys have any information about the number of Cambodian-owned businesses in the Tacoma Pierce County area, aside from the donut businesses?
I know that about 4 or 5 donut shop in Pierce County, and then there's also Cambodian people own the salon more than the restaurant. There's only I think this one restaurant is open right now, not open right now, but I'm not sure, but it's grand opening soon, close by 72nd Plaza.
Okay.
So there's one in there that I saw, but for the salon, there's some that opening, and I know myself own the gas stations, but not in Tacoma, but in Pierce County's 8 years. I owned for 8 years with my husband. And then my brothers, he owns gas station on 76 and Stevens. He's owned there over 30 years now. He's still there. And right now he's really tired of it too. And he wants to sell it out, but no one really interested yet. So he's put on the selling list, help the realtors helping him right now because he wants to retire, and plus both of his wife and him is really their health is not really good right now, so they want to sell it and try to enjoy life. And since they own that store, they never go anywhere. But anyway, there's some other businesses that we know in Tacoma, but there's some in King County. There's one Cambodian restaurant opening right now in Cambodian Vice Center called Apsara. So, and then there's a Phnom Penh restaurant is opening back because I think at that time they closed it down for a while because of family issues, and so now they open back in Martin Luther King Way. But yeah, Bongson can add that in there too.
I would imagine that the pandemic was hard on Cambodian businesses and all Asian businesses, actually, Asian run.
Yeah. And then Diane, for Pierce County alone, 48% of the businesses in Pierce County are owned by Asians.
Really?
And 1% is owned by NHPI, which is Native American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders. So if you put them together as AAPI, so 49% of all the businesses in Pierce County are owned by AAPI.
That's amazing. I have not
Yep.
heard that percentage. That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it just shows that persistent, culture where they want to succeed and take care of their families. That's great to know, Lua.
Yeah,
Well,
and we're hardworking people, you know. Yeah, you hardly can find us on the welfare system because a lot of, especially the Asians, they just want to own business. You know, they want their
and they
own thing
also help
going,
each
and
other.
yeah,
Like we saw in the film, that
Yeah.
was somebody decided to help the others that were
yeah,
coming.
and they help each other.
Partnering,
Yeah,
Mhm.
help each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
And they probably frequent each other's businesses as well to support
yes,
it.
yes.
So I want to let our audiences know about any celebrations that are coming up for
Yes.
the Cambodian community and for the APCC. We'd love to be involved now that we're starting to open up the state at the
Mhm.
end of June, so that we are a little less concerned about the pandemic. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so Sinun and Dareth, are there any specific Cambodian festivities coming up?
Yes, there is a September Cambodian celebrate the Buddha calendar. So it's, I think it's called Cheng Prasa. It's like Cambodian coming together to bring food and celebrate the success of the monks being able to stay for the whole season, and he done a great job. So people bring gift and reward to the monks. So I think they're prepping in September, starting August and go all the way to September. And that's when the community and all of the Buddhist temple, everybody is doing preparation for the Buddhist temple, the Buddhist celebration. And Cambodian
APCC,
also.
So for APCC, Diane, for everyone who's listening, the 11th annual Samoa Cultural Day and Week will be July 25th coming up, and that whole week will be celebrated. And then in August, our 24th annual Polynesian Luau is our only fundraising event, and it's outdoors on August 28th. And then September 25th is our 5th annual Chuseok Festival. It's Korean. It's a harvest festival. And so it'll be happening here at APCC on the 25th of September. But, because it's our 5th annual, so Gig Harbor, the Koreans in Gig Harbor have come to us and asked us if we could do a Chuseok Festival in Gig Harbor on the 18th of September. So that's what we're going to do. And then we celebrate the Filipino Heritage Month in October. And then our 25th anniversary, please, Diane, put it on your calendar, November 6th at the Greater Tacoma Community Convention Center.
You know, if Luke tells me to put it on my calendar, I don't fail.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are just big
and the
events.
luau,
So many little activities are going on. Yeah.
Luau.
Yeah.
Right.
Luau having a luau.
That already.
It's always good to get together with our community and celebrate, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And Cambodian they have a farmer market Tuesdays and Friday on East 44th Street at the Buddhist temple that I belong to.
Oh,
The temple located in Portland Avenue. So yeah.
You can go and buy all fresh Cambodian stuff over there. Lots of people.
Their yard. They grow at their yard and then they pick it. They go there and sell it. It's organic. You know, people go there and sell it.
Wonderful.
Yes. And Diane, thank you. We want to thank you, Diane, and KPTC for all of this wonderful exposure that our Cambodian community and AAPI community have gotten to this evening. And thank you, Jeffrey, for being with us tonight. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted you to know that the audience is very grateful for Sinuan and Daret's story, their powerful story tonight. That's some of the comments that we're getting, that they really appreciated you sharing your
Thank
story. Those
you.
are hard stories. Those are
Thank you
very
so much.
deep stories and close to the family's hearts. So we thank you for that. And then, so I want to thank our audience. I also want to tell everybody, I don't want to forget to let you know that the Tacoma Refugee Choir will be performing at LeMay Car Museum on June 20th. That's World Refugee Day at 2:30 p.m. It's also Father's Day and the biggest day at the LeMay Car Museum. So it
Mm.
should be a fun day. So we'll be performing from 2:30 to 3 that day. And then I just want to thank each one of you for coming tonight. I really appreciate your time. And I want to thank KBTC, who's our wonderful local PBS station that engages the community, the entire community that we live in. I want to thank the Asia Pacific Cultural Center tonight for all the work that they're doing. And you can all see right behind Lua, that beautiful new center that's going to become a reality. And I want to thank my refugee choir that provides a safe space for refugees and immigrants to sing and celebrate community. So for those people that are watching tonight, if you want to tell your friends or watch the film again, it's going to play again June 24th on your PBS station at 10:30 p.m. So June 24th, if you want to watch The Donut King, and you can recommend it to your family and friends. So I think that's a wrap tonight, ladies. You all did a great job. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank
Take
you.
care. Have a
Thank
nice night.
you, everybody.
Is it
Glad
Akon?
you enjoyed the meeting.
Akon. And then this one is a respect way. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thanks again.
My phone.
Thank